I will call the meeting to order and begin with the land acknowledgement statement for the town of Smith Falls. On March 16th, we acknowledge that this sacred land on which Smith Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We are also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smiths Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. Our first item of business is the approval of the agenda. Do we have additions to the agenda first? Chris?
Yeah, thanks, Dorothy. I'd like to add the bylaw rewrite that we got from Carl, I think on Monday or Tuesday, if everybody's had a chance to look at it. It would be good to bring it up tonight and get it to council as soon as possible.
Should we put that under project updates?
Yeah, I guess it could, but whatever one fits.
Okay. Any other changes to the agenda? Okay, would someone move that we adopt the agenda then, please? Katie, and a seconder. Chris, all in favor? Thank you. Next item of business is the adoption of the minutes from February 23rd. If everyone's had a chance to look at them, would someone please move that we adopt those minutes? Jenny, and a seconder, please. Lorraine, thank you. All in favor of adopting the minutes? Pass, thank you. Disclosure of monetary interest, anyone? Okay, let's move on to the priority issues. The first one is the Ontario Heritage Conference for 2022. Would someone please remind me of the date of that?
Tony should, he's speaking.
I left my notebook at the museum.
Oh,
No, I don't have it with me. I'm sorry.
it must be in the minutes somewhere.
Mary?
I'll find it. I'll find it.
Pulling up the website now.
Okay.
So Ontario Heritage Conference is June 16th to June 18th.
Thanks. So we're going to discuss this in some way. It's not my item. So would someone take the lead, please? Lorraine, thank you.
Yeah, no, I would like to suggest or put forward that we all attend. Chris and I can be paid by the town and Mary, but maybe use some of our budget. And I would even say, given, you know, the lateness of the year and how important it is that we're going to stay together and be a group that's really knowledgeable about all things heritage, that we go together. Like we did that, I think 2 or 3 terms ago. Were you there, Tony, when we went to Kingston?
Kingston.
It
Yes.
was so worthwhile, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It kind of just, it just helped us as a group have time to integrate, you know, all the knowledge that we were getting and talk a lot. And it was just a really nice way to get to know one another. And it would be my recommendation.
Okay.
And if we need to, and I'm going to not have time to do the can't even think of what it's called right now. I'm sorry, I'm brain dead today.
The symposium?
Yeah, I think maybe we do it instead and use that as the Shears education piece.
Mary?
I'm sorry, I just wanted to bring up the budget on this requirement. We asked for $10,000 this year and we received it. So we actually have double our usual budget. So I crunched the numbers because we also asked for out of budget approval for our MTBA bylaw rewrite project last year. So the carryover from 2021 was almost $16,000, which generally covers our MTBA bylaw rewrite project. And we were allotted $10,000 this year for a municipal heritage committee budget, because we had initially said that we wanted a real banger of a symposium. I'm using Tony's words, but anyways, so I crunched the numbers a little bit. If we have to pay full price for the full weekend's conference for all 6 members, we're looking at $1,890 before taxes. So that'll only take roughly $2,500 of our budget, which would leave about $7,000 to $7,500 for a symposium. So I don't think it needs to be one or the other. I believe we can do both.
Okay,
Tony?
I'm not sure if I'm going to be expected to pay, since I'm one of the presenters, so that might be even cheaper yet. But I will try and I will ask that next time I'm contacted, okay?
So you're saying basically, Mary, that we've got enough money and we can afford for all of us to go.
Yes, that's what it looks like. It looks like we would be able to afford for all members to go. I mean, give or take, if you guys are all traveling together, I imagine that would take 2 cars. So that would cut down on the amount of travel expenses. So we'd still have anywhere between $5,000 to $7,000 definitely to go towards a symposium. So I feel that we could get away with doing both this year, and that it doesn't need to be an either or. Just thankfully, we asked for that increased budget for this year.
Mhm.
okay.
With regards to the budget, we might have needs for heritage plaques.
Yes,
For-
that was also part of it.
For new designations, so I don't think we were planning on new pedestals, but the heritage plaques. Tony, do you remember off your top of your head the cost of those approximately?
I could ask Becky, I can text her, and I can get back to you on that.
Okay,
I'm thinking, weren't they around $2,600 a piece, something like that?
they weren't cheap.
No,
I know.
because the graphics and everything on top of it.
Mhm.
Chris, do you remember?
Remember, it was more than you'd think it would be looking, you know what I mean? But yeah, they're not cheap. And if we're looking at 2 or 3 of those for 2022, it's a good point. But maybe we should have maybe we should spend the next month kind of thinking about this kind of stuff, and then come back at the next meeting and try to just make sure we're not letting anything go through the cracks, or
Okay.
Mhm.
because that's great. We've got some money for a change. I don't know if that's ever happened before.
Yeah, we might be looking at maybe 5 or 6 new plaques, possibly. So
I'm
that would
hoping-
be quite pricey.
Yeah.
The
Okay,
last ones,
yeah, sorry, go
Well-
ahead, Tom.
the cost of the last ones were picked up by the rebranding exercise. We didn't pay for them.
No, those were the pedestals, though. I mean, the heritage plaques after we've designated a property.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the ones that came from the place in Merrittville, didn't they?
Yes, and he is closed right now. He's been, what's his name? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
Linda, and yeah, they have been
Is that
closed.
the ironworks?
Yes, the alloy foundry,
Okay, well, he lives in the house right next door, the big old white house set back.
White House, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the old Merrick House.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so those, the cost of those comes out of our budget. It wouldn't be paid for.
Okay.
Otherwise, I don't think, Chris.
Also, do we know if there's any pedestals that have been damaged? I haven't done a walking tour of them in a long time, but it just seems every couple of years, there's a couple of those that could use a replacement. Maybe we should look into that.
Do you know, Tony?
Ours is damaged at the museum, but it's going to be put back up by us. It fell over with the help of a rail car being backed in by a house mover. but we will take care of it. Was the one at the canal ever replaced? Remember they
Yeah.
damaged it? They were supposed to put
Yeah.
it back up.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's there, there's a new one there. And there was the one that, at Lower Reach Park that a tree fell on.
Really?
Yes,
Is that-
well,
that's the one for Frosty
years ago.
Woods?
No, the one for Ryan's Park. I
Oh.
think one's been replaced, but I don't really know. And then there was the, remember the mysterious missing one?
Yes.
Beside the canal. So we should check on those two locations, I guess, and see if they have been put back.
Okay.
Mary?
So I just want to know, I do believe it's been quite some time now, but I do believe that I had located the missing pedestal. Now I do believe also that I have the perfect location for it, but we're waiting for a little bit of information from Parks Canada as well as Public Works regarding a walking path going down by the falls, because that might be the best location for it.
For which one?
So, sorry, you said there's a missing pedestal. It was over by the falls. I found it quite a while ago. And the location that it was at didn't seem appropriate. If I'm not mistaken, it was for something with respect to the Water Commission itself and the falls and that whole connection there. It's been a while since I looked at it, but it seemed like the best location would be at this conceptual walking path that would go in between the Washburn block and where the Rideau River is there. But we haven't, basically the town and Parks Canada are still working out arrangements for that walking path, but I imagine that that would be a perfect suitable location for it once we have one.
Okay. Chris, did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, do we have a list of them all somewhere that we could, maybe just through email, we could try to visit them all? And just, sometimes the tops get damaged, or it'd be a good kind of spring cleaning project for us, maybe. I just don't know. I don't know if I've ever seen a list of, like, a complete list if I wanted to go for a walk around town and check them all out.
Well, it would be easy enough to make a list if there isn't one, I guess. Mary?
I was just gonna say, I have pictures of all the ones before the rebranding, and there's
Okay.
only one new one installed since, so I can develop a list from that and send it out, no problems.
Okay, thank you. Lorraine?
Pedestals, I would really like us to think about at least having one at the host tower. I mean, if we're not going to be allowed to open the doors and let people visualize how it worked, I thought perhaps on a pedestal we could show the picture of it and an explanation of what it really was, used for, that sort of thing. I think it would make people more aware of what it really was, the significance of it. I'm still banking on maybe they'll change their mind and let us open it so we can look up.
Oh, I doubt that. Tony?
I was going to say, Lorraine, are you giving up on getting those doors open?
No, I'm not giving up, but
Thank you very much.
I've learned over the years that, you have your hope and then you have your maybe backup plan of.
There's battles that can be won and there's battles that you lose, but
Yeah.
I didn't think you were about ready to give up on that yet. Okay,
No, I'm not.
good.
Okay, shall we go ahead with the next item then, which is the Confederation Bridge and the Stone Arch Bridge, which we discussed at our last meeting. And we also had, it wasn't recirculated, but for the last meeting, there were the two statements of cultural heritage value or interest for those bridges. But what was missing, as Mary reminded us, was the key heritage attributes. And Tony and I have tossed that about over the month, but it was written in the minutes that we would discuss it again at this meeting and see if we could firm that up. So I know that Mary suggested that basically for the Stone Arch Bridge, the key heritage attributes would be the two stone arches that are covered by Tony's shaking his head. Go ahead, Tony.
If it's downstairs, I can go get it. But what it says in the guide is, it does not have to be the attributes of the actual construction. To me, the attributes of that bridge is that there has been a bridge on that location since 1820. That is actually the third bridge that's been there. And also that bridge is associated with its construction. If you look at it, it was constructed the year that the wood mill was completed, and that was in 1893. You look at the stone on both places, they're the same.
Mhm.
So to me, the heritage attributes is that it has been a location of a bridge in Smith Falls since 1820.
What if we were to call it a character defining element, which is the term used in the standards and guidelines? If you call it a character defining element, then we have to look at something that's there now that we want to preserve. I'm not sure that talking about bridges that used to be there, that's part of the history, right?
I'll be back in a second.
Okay, would someone else like to comment on, because Tony and I have been kind of disputing this, and Lorraine, go ahead.
Dorothy, I think the arches, the significance of the arches and how they were designed and created are the attributes you'd want to talk about or recognize. And the fact that how long it's existed, you know, and how important that part of our town is.
And that information is included in the summary, but according to the Ontario Heritage Act, we have to actually list the attributes. And I don't think that the attributes are the history. I think that's a separate thing.
Yeah, no, the stone, the way the arch was created is unique. And it was done a lot in that time frame, right? When it was created. Like I know when I was researching years ago, there were other communities that had similar bridges. I think Carlton Place maybe is one. The one where the people swim, is that right, Chris? Do you know? Where people swim right in front of the, I think that's an arch bridge too. Maybe I'm wrong.
And the one in Pakenham, you know, that the one across the river at Pakenham, that one is listed in that website, the Historic Bridges website, I think.
Maybe that's the one I'm thinking of.
Would someone else like to comment on the heritage attributes? Well, we'll deal with the Stone Arch Bridge first. Chris?
I guess this is something, sorry, just because I missed the last meeting, it's outside of the MTBA project because it's not a rewrite. There's nothing existing on the books. Is that the situation?
It's a property of interest, but it's not designated. And that was the purpose of the summary and we did pass a motion at the last meeting to designate it. So yes, it's not. But after having read that report on the water treatment plant, you can see that both of the, or I could see, I mean, that both of these bridges are part of the area. They're part of the complex, the entire
Heritage area.
the heritage area of Ward or Wood Island.
Yeah.
It's significance.
Do we
We're
go?
going to-
Okay.
Tony?
Well, under the criteria, the regulations 9/06, there's about 3 that it comes at that both bridges fold into. The one to me that defines it, the property has a design value or physical value because it is a rare, unique, representative or early example of a style, type, expression, material, or construction method, displays a high degree of craftsmanship or artistic merit, or demonstrates a high degree of technical, scientific achievement. That is 3 different sections. We only need 1 to qualify the bridge. Both those bridges qualify under all 3. And item number 2, which we don't even need to go any further, the property has a historical value or associated value because it has a direct association with the theme, event, belief, person, activity, organization, or institution, which of course is the wood mill.
Yes, and the third criteria too, which is contextual. They,
Yes, we're
they
right there.
both the bridges meet that contextual criteria too.
Yeah.
So good reasons to designate them, but
Yes,
we still need to list the key heritage attributes. So,
Attributes be the arch of the stonework, that how it's created?
could be the arts.
Yeah, because it's a significant type of bridge because of that, isn't it? Like I remember reading when I first started with this group years ago when I started council, that there are only a few of them existing. Most of them were taken down or replaced by very modern bridges. So I think that the
We're on the
feature,
stone arch.
yeah.
mhm. I can't really think of the other heritage attributes for that bridge other than the two stone arches, unless other people can think of additional attributes. So how about the Confederation Bridge then? What would we say are the character defining elements or the key attributes of that bridge that we would like to preserve?
I don't have it handy, but if you go into just Google the Confederation Bridge, Smiths Falls, Ontario, you'll be sent to bridges, and it has an amazing description of our bridge and a picture. And
What
it
about the
compares-
Warren Pony Truss?
It is a,
Yeah.
it is a riveted Warren Pony Truss.
Yeah.
It
bridge.
describes it really well. I have that somewhere. I just don't know right now where.
So what are the pony, I know it's called a Warren Pony Truss Bridge, but are the pony trusses the metal things at the sides that you?
It's
Yeah.
the back, the members that go up and down like triangularly. That's
Mhm.
where it's triangularly. I don't know.
So
All-
those,
Yeah, all
Go ahead,
truss
Phil.
bridges, like if you go to Andrewsville, the truss bridges go up, then they're joined at the top. That gives them the support and the strength. With a Warren Pony Truss Bridge, it doesn't have that. The trusses go down below the section, and that gives its structural strength.
Under Wikipedia, it says, in structural engineering, a Warren truss or equilateral truss is a type of truss employing a weight-saving design based upon equilateral triangles. It's named after the British engineer James Warren, who patented in 1846.
There you go.
Thanks.
so then the heritage attributes are the metal trusses then?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yep.
And are there any other features of that bridge that we think are key? Or is it basically the two sides where the trusses are?
To me, that would be its attributes for sure.
Yeah, in my experience, though, it's the prettiest spot in our town.
Mhm.
I mean, I remember not being very old, and when I'd go for a walk, I would stand on the side of that and be splashed by the water coming down. I mean, it's just the most pretty part of the river in every direction. It's a beautiful
Yes,
location.
it is. And
And the
yeah.
thought of someone saying, okay, let's get rid of it, just terrifies me. It's a horrible option.
It
What about the
features
fact
prominent-
that it's one lane? Does that have anything to do with?
Well, it's a lane and
How
a
old?
sidewalk, which makes it, there's a name for that. Like some of the bridges were just for cars, but that style of bridge had a pedestrian walkway too.
Yeah.
So perhaps that's a key attribute as well. Do you
I
think?
would think so.
Yeah,
The single
Lane.
lane for traffic and the walkway, Tony?
I would suggest that the walkway was added at a later date.
I don't think so.
even if it was, a key attribute can be something that was added later.
Yes.
Because it contributes to the overall appearance. Or
Take a look at the Otter Creek Bridge. I know it's made by a different manufacturer. Ours was made in Montreal. Theirs was made by Dominion Bridge. Maybe it's got a walkway as well, but it's been designated since 1986. And it's the only other bridge in Ontario like that.
Mhm.
There's only the two in Ontario. Two in Ontario, one in Quebec, and one in Alberta.
so we have three attributes for that one then. The metal trusses that would you say that enclose the bed of the bridge?
That supports the bridge, wouldn't it be?
Support, okay.
Yep.
And the single lane for traffic and the walkway beside. Okay. Mary, you have that in your notes, right? Because I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind, because I'm not going to be here for the next meeting or for the period of time in between, if you could add those attributes to the summary and description that you already have, so that when Tony goes to present to council, it'll all be complete. Is that okay, Mary?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any thoughts on when that might be? Tony, when you might be able to? When you might be able-
Anytime. I just got to get, I'd like to get some, I'd like to do it live because all restrictions are coming off on the 20th, right, Mary?
We're still wearing masks at town hall until further notice, so I'm not sure what's happening in terms of council resuming in-person meetings at this time. I haven't been given an update.
But everything is over on the 20th, 21st. There's no more restrictions.
So according to the province, yes, but individual businesses and organizations can make their own rules. And I know that we've just been advised that we will be maintaining masking requirements for staffing, dealing with the public and when interacting with one another. I'm not sure if any other rules are changing though. So
Okay.
I haven't been provided an update at this time, but there is a staff meeting at the beginning of April that will update me more.
I wonder why the school boards weren't allowed to make their own decisions. I mean, Doug Ford got on TV and carried on at them for voting to continue with masking. So well, I guess it's just different rules in different places, right? It's up to council, right? Is that right, Mary? It's up to council to decide.
I understand that, yes. So that'll be a decision of councils to make, and I'm not sure when that's going forward.
Well, whenever they get back to normal, I'm ready to go whenever.
Okay. I guess that concludes that item then. The next item is the standards and guidelines that we've been slowly working our way through, and sometimes we don't get to it during the meeting, but I guess we do have time today. See, find my notes here. So we were on to the yes, Lorraine, go ahead.
And the bylaw, the waterwork building designation update. I thought we were going to talk about that. I wondered if we could do that instead.
We can do that, certainly do that first, yes, because it kind of fits in anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's so good.
Okay.
You know, I just can't, I'm thrilled to pieces. If we could get this quality of bylaws for all our designated properties, just imagine. It would be.
It was very impressive, isn't it?
It was. It's,
the photographs are beautiful. The way they've highlighted in the photographs, you wouldn't hardly even know that the building is derelict by looking at those photographs, would you?
I know, and you want to just buy it. You just want to do it, right? If only I were rich.
Chris?
Yeah, I think I see so much value in this, and I'm glad after all of the work and perseverance we put into it, we got to see some results. Like one thing for me that stood out that I've never noticed before is the date stone above the entranceway to the limestone building. And just the way they were able to get that photo and document like all those little details that are easy to miss. Yeah, I'm really impressed with it, and the speed they came together, they brought it together was great too. So, yeah, it makes me think when we're having these bridge discussions, you know, would we be better off? Would we have a stronger? I don't think we can beat something of this quality, and it's just how can we get everything upgraded to this level as soon as possible. And if we've got money in our budget this year, I see great value in this. These are going to be reports that are going to be used for the next 10, 20 years to come.
Where did the pictures come from? I didn't see any pictures. I never saw those.
They were at the end.
Oh, well, I probably just didn't get to the
They
end.
were at the end, yeah.
Oh, rats. Okay,
They must have come and taken those pictures quite recently,
okay.
since we
I'll
asked
find
them to prioritize this project. Yeah.
And it was a nice clear day when they did it.
Mm-hmm. And they certainly, all those character defining elements that they listed, I mean, well, they're experts, of course, and
Yeah.
I know I'm not, certainly not. So do we need to, do we have further info? Go ahead, Lorraine.
Can I just add to Chris's, I don't know if he was hoping to make a motion of his intent, but I agree with him. I think we should use money, especially when we have it, to do the same thing with our other bylaws, because when you compare this one to any of the ones we've created, not saying they're bad, but they don't have the same quality. You know, I would like to see the Rideau Hotel done by these people, for instance.
I think it's on the list, is it not, Mary? They're doing 15.
Yes, so
Right.
that's what I was gonna confirm. I'm pretty sure that one's on the list of bylaw rewrites. Like, this is the same consultant doing the bylaw rewrite projects that we're paying roughly $16,000 for out of the 2021 budget. So if I'm not mistaken, this was slightly out of scope and just a little bit more detailed than what we requested for through our project. So this was because it was fast tracked for the purpose of the RFP going out. But generally, I understand that we're going to get the same quality for the other properties that we listed for them to review, including 2 new properties that are up for designation, 3 maybe, sorry, 110, 102 Brockville, and 39 Russell,
Right.
as well as we'll be receiving a template bylaw, so we'll be able to duplicate these in the future.
We haven't actually presented that motion to council yet, though, for those 3 properties. So we can't have a bylaw before council has approved designation, can we?
So the bylaw will be in draft form and will
I
form
see.
part of the council presentation, so that following the council presentation, if council agrees, the next available meeting of council, they'll be able to pass a bylaw, so that'll be ready to go.
Okay. The document that we received, though, for the water treatment plant, that isn't actually a bylaw, is it?
So it includes all of the necessary information in accordance with the Ontario Heritage Act for the bylaw. So you'll probably find that it's of the same length, but you're correct. It's not written like a bylaw. It's written as an appendix for the RFP, but the bylaw will include a lot of the same information.
Right. So, but it'll go into the template that they're creating, right? So they will provide for us eventually a rewritten bylaw based on the information that, yeah, okay.
Absolutely. With the photos and everything attached, because that's what the Ontario Heritage Act requires.
Mhm. So we'll have that then eventually for all 15 of the properties that were designated before the Ontario Heritage Act came into place. Is that correct? They're the old bylaws.
The
that are
old
being-
files, yes. So there was, if I'm not mistaken here, actually right here, so 15 existing designating properties, rewriting those bylaws and developing 3 draft bylaws for those 3 new designations, which is 102 Brockville, 110 Brockville, and 39 Russell East. So it'll be a total of 18 bylaws. 3 of them will be in, well, all of them will be in draft form. They need to be accepted by council.
Chris?
No, that's great. Thanks, Mary. And I'm wondering, when you say there's slightly more detail in the water treatment plant one compared to the 15 other, or the other ones, what kind of things, like, should we be looking at trying to get this level of detail on all of them, or what kind of costs would be associated with that?
So I think it's just in the way it's presented. This is presented more as a memo so that it can be attached to the RFP as an appendix. So like, for example, you probably won't see the introduction there, but most of the information would be, from what my reading of it, it'll still be included in the bylaw because it has to be in accordance with the Ontario Heritage Act. It'll just be written in bylaw format essentially. But I don't believe that the introduction will be needed because this speaks to the RFP explicitly, but including of the key attributes, its historical and cultural value, and all of that information, it's all required by the Ontario Heritage Act. So I don't see how we could accept a bylaw that has anything less than the information presented here, really.
Great. So how do we need to pass anything to send this to council or to endorse it?
So I don't think you would need to now. This isn't in bylaw form. This is just the RFP. So, and that's, but I guess it's complicated because you guys had, council, sorry, had given the direction to have this kind of expedited for the RFP project that was already released. So at this point, sending forward essentially a motion of endorsement to council is kind of redundant because the package has already been sent out. That being said, we will, once we have the draft bylaw, because this isn't it, but once we have the draft bylaw, we will need that motion to send all the drafts forward to council for their adoption.
Okay, Tony?
When they're done, to do them all, does it have to go, everyone have to go back through council to be redesignated?
They would have to accept the new bylaw as written, yes.
So everyone has to be represented to council and they redesignate?
Yes, so they would repeal the old designating bylaw and replace it with the new bylaw.
Now,
But I don't think we would have to present them though.
no, we
They're
wouldn't have.
not new.
We'll have to prepare a staff report to present the new drafts and the information to council for their consideration, and ultimately any revisions that they would require if they feel necessary, and then finally adoption. So we would repeal the old designation bylaws and we would replace them with the new bylaws.
Now, to repeal one, doesn't that have to go through the Ontario government?
So I don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head. I can tell you that on an administrative level, it's simply a council motion. It simply forms part of the bylaw to repeal and replace. So I'll have to look into the Ontario Heritage Act to see if we have to do that level with the province.
It'd be unfortunate if you did, but I just wanted to prepare you because from what I'm reading to repeal a designation, it has to go through the, I thought it had to go through the Ontario government.
Okay, so I'll look into it.
Okay.
So it might
But
be
we're not
slightly different because we're not completely removing the designation, right? We're just replacing it with more information.
Amending
We're
the
not-
designation.
We're not undesignating.
We are amending the designation.
Yes.
Yes. But we have to
Updating.
repeal the old bylaw to do so. It's administrative.
Yeah.
wording.
Yeah. It doesn't require the MHC to go to council and present them all.
I don't believe it would, but I'll clarify that with Carl as we go, yeah.
That makes me question though, with these 2 bridges. I mean, we don't have the template yet. We feel that there's a need to get on with presenting the Confederation Bridge because it's on the public consultation is going on. But without the template, presenting to council to designate, would that be premature, do you think, Mary?
Well, it may or may not be. I understand that this project was only supposed to take 4 to 6 months and we're about 3 months in. They owe me a meeting and an update within the next 30 to 60 days. So I'll follow up and I'll see if it's something that'll align with resuming in-person meetings, because ultimately I understand that Tony doesn't want to be part of the presentation when that occurs. So it seems like we have a little bit of time anyways, but I'll double check with them and I'll report back in April on it.
Thank you. Lorraine?
I'm thinking, or maybe I'm wrong, but it would be my guess that when this isn't, when the bridge right now isn't designated, it's on a property of interest list, and I'm wealthy and I buy all of that property and I'm going to develop it, I could take that bridge down. I don't need to consult with anybody.
It's just 30 days, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, I think we should get off our duffs and get it designated.
Okay. But you're saying not until you can do it in person, though?
Well, is it going to be in April? If not, let's go ahead with it. But
I think we should just go ahead with it.
yeah, I'd like to go ahead, but I'll see what I can do with somebody to make a visual presentation of some of the slides I have for the bridge.
Oh,
But yeah, let's go ahead anytime. And I wanted to clarify that I had asked last meeting. It was mentioned about us being a delegation, and it's my contention that we're not a delegation. So we can do it anytime.
Mary?
Just wanted to confirm that. I confirmed that as well because there was confusion. You are right. You are not a delegation. Essentially, there's a covering report that will be prepared by Carl in consultation with the presenters, the presenter and the chair. And he'll go up and he'll say a few words as part of a council presentation. It would be down as a priority item on a council agenda. He would go up and say a few words and then introduce yourself, Tony, as the presenter, and you would be able to speak as well.
Okay, I will work with Nadine on my visual display, and I'll kind of beg for her assistance. Okay.
Yep.
Sure. So, and just let me know.
Absolutely.
If there's
So I'll work
anything
with
I
Carl
can
on a
do.
date, but I speculate it'll be sometime in April.
Okay.
That also reminds me about the other motion we passed at the last meeting regarding that list of new properties of interest. And Mary, you were going to talk to Carl about that being done via a staff report.
Absolutely. So same process that I just explained regarding the designations. Carl will do a covering report in consultation with the chair and the presenter. That will be presented to council. He'll speak first and then he'll introduce the presenter to speak to the report as well. So again, that we wouldn't be able to do it any earlier than April 2022 at this point, because we have already a pretty planning heavy agenda planned for the end of March, from what I understand. So we're looking at April 2022, but I'll keep you in the loop and I'll discuss with Carl. It might be the second CAL meeting of April before that gets done, but we'll be able to bring that forward in April.
Okay. Any further comments about the water treatment plant or the bridges? Chris?
Thanks, Dorothy. So just to confirm, this is going to be attached to the RFP. No action is required on the MHC. And we're going to wait until all the bylaws are rewritten before we start bringing that to council. So there's no point pushing this bylaw through council just based on the RFP and the time constraints there. This addendum is going to be adequate for those proposals. Is that a fair take on it, or?
Lorraine?
I was just going to ask Mary, do you know when this goes out, when the closing of that is?
I'm not sure. I can find out though.
Because it's usually just a number of weeks.
Yeah, I will pull it up. I believe I was circulated a media release for that. So I will double check. And if you can give me a few minutes, I will get back to you.
Does the property include the Confederation Bridge for that RFP? It's not part of the piece of property, is it?
No.
No. So whoever decides to do that doesn't have control over the bridge as well, do they? Like whichever developer
The picture of what they're getting.
whichever developer takes on the project of the water treatment plant doesn't own the bridge as well, do they?
The bridge is not part of the sale, is it? Bridge.
I think if the bridge was designated, the only thing they would be able to say or control would be whether it's a walking bridge or a vehicle and a walking bridge. But when it's not designated, I think they would be able to say it's not in our plans to keep it. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Chris, what do you think?
I think it would have to go through one of those surplus property reports because it didn't go through any of the paperwork that got the water treatment site to the point where it was able to have an RFP go out for it. So I don't know. It sounds like they want to be as open as possible to as many options as possible if somebody comes in with a big idea and deep pockets to build it. But I don't see anything that would imply that that public asset would become a private asset through this RFP as written. I think the water tower was the bigger one. That parcel of land on Confederation Drive is the parcel that I'm keeping my eye on a little bit more concerned about, just because it was kind of put out there as if you've got a good idea for it, sell it to us and we'll see if it's feasible. But I don't know, that's just my take though.
Mary?
The RFP closes May 6, 2022.
Soon.
It's actually a little further off than some of our other RFPs. They want to give developers enough time to come up with a development concept for submission.
Okay. Any further comments? Okay, let's just go back to the standards and guidelines briefly. I just wondered if anybody would like to make any comment on any of the sections that we took a look at.
They were interesting.
Go ahead, Katie.
Well, I enjoyed the read. I can't really, I don't have much to say about it. Anybody else?
One of the things that struck me in the section about windows, doors, and storefronts was wholesale replacement of window units is not an appropriate preservation treatment.
And that one of those places replaced the bottom. They sanded the windows, they repaired them, and they kept them as they were. And the upper ones they replaced with like kind.
Right.
And that was interesting. So it doesn't all have to be done.
It also said you should not install new windows, doors, or storefronts that are incompatible with the building's style, era, or character.
Yeah.
And it does remind me of the discussion we had about the windows for the town hall.
Yes, that's what
Why I mean, we didn't succeed in our quest in that instance, but the guidelines are pretty clear about that kind of thing. So I think it's unfortunate that the town hall is not going to be following these guidelines. Any other comments about the?
That should be noted.
Well, I guess it would be
She's on
in
it. She's on it.
Chris?
Yeah, I really like these sections because they apply to a lot of the stuff we work with every month. When it comes to the exterior, it was interesting to see the example of that blue building. Especially when you see like in Ottawa, there's a lot of the federal government buildings have those 60s, 70s, 80s surface treatments on them that are getting replaced. And it's going to be interesting to see how they work that. It doesn't seem like preservation of that kind of stuff is forefront, and it doesn't seem, it's not old enough, or it doesn't have that heritage look to it yet, or like our era doesn't have the value to it. So it'll be interesting to see how that stuff survives. The roofs I thought were really cool, especially in thinking about the Railway Museum, because you've got that, like at the Railway Museum, Tony, I think the whole roof used to be slate, right? And then it was too heavy because it was sinking the station down.
The way I heard it is that they originally put a slate roof on that it took the load okay, but they never configured in the snow load. Once the snow load got on it, that's when they started running into trouble. So they had to reduce the load. What we're doing now is we have to kind of put our nickels away. We need to get an engineering report to see if the roof needs to be reboarded. Will it take the weight of the chipboard and the shingles? These are the things we need to know before we go ahead, because we're probably looking at close to 160,000 to do the roof.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
A lot of roof.
It's mostly roof, isn't it?
It is, yes, yeah.
Well, when the roof's so prominent in the, like when you look at it from the street, from the side elevations, it's, after reading this, it definitely seems like it's worth it to spend that extra money. You know, if a special steel shingle roof would give it more of that dignity and prominence that it had when it was first put up with the slate. It just shows the value in putting that money in, and you know, you might get longer lifespan out of it, but you really get that presence at the curb. Anyway, those were some things that came to mind. I like this section. It was a lot of content though.
Okay, let's move to round table then. If anyone has anything to contribute, I'll start with Katie.
Nothing?
Jenny?
Nothing from me.
Tony?
Okay, just to revisit. First of all, I need to find out if the Alloy Foundry is going to open back up again. And the second one, I need to find if they are open for the price of the plaques.
Right.
The only thing I have kind of is that the museum is opening before our usual weekend in May 24th. We are going to be open on the 16th of April that's the Saturday of Easter. For the Easter, get this, Express. And we also have a petting zoo going to be coming on site, and tickets are going on Eventbrite tonight. We hope to be sold out in a week. And yeah, it's pretty happy about that.
Tickets for what, Tony, did you say?
We're calling it the Easter Express.
Okay, tickets for that.
And, oh yeah, on a side note, I don't know if anybody who you may know John Mulkern. He's from Kingston. He's quite a large chap. He's being a very good sport. We have him a bunny uniform, so along with his conductor's hat, he's going to be wearing a bunny suit this year.
I have to plug in, sorry.
Lorraine, do you have anything for roundtable? No? Chris, do you? Okay, well, I guess that concludes the meeting then. Oh, go ahead, Katie.
I just thought of something. Tonight at 7, Peter Au and the group Journey to Sustainability are putting on an hour from 7 till 8 about REAL, where it came from and what it stands for. If anyone is interested in spending an interesting hour listening and watching, I'd be happy to arrange a Zoom link for you. So that should be interesting.
Okay. All right, I guess we can adjourn. The next meeting is scheduled for April 20th. And Tony, you're going to be the chair? Is that right?
Apparently, that's what I hear.
Yes. Okay.
Happy
Thank you,
walking. Happy
Thanks.
walking.
Thanks.
Yes,
Nice
good
trip.
trip, Dorothy.
Okay, thank you. Would
Bye,
someone
guys.
move, would someone move that we adjourn the meeting then, please?
Aye.
Okay, all in favor? Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thank you very
Bye
much.
all.
Thanks.
Bye.
Have a great holiday. We'll miss you. I know you'll have fun.
Thank you. I hope I come back in one piece.
Don't walk too far east, Dave.